In Unreal Engine, we add materials to 3D objects to define their look and to inform how they react to light and reflections. Let's create a couple materials to apply to the geometry that we've imported into the project. Unreal Engine renders materials using physically based rendering, a type of shading that seeks to approximate how light actually realistically reacts to surfaces. The parameters that we will usually use to determine how an object reacts to light using PBR shading are base color, roughness, metallic, specular, and normal. We can always create material information for 3D models in other programs like 3ds Max, but we will ultimately have more control and will be able to achieve a more realistic result if we create our materials in Unreal Engine. So let's create our first material. In the content browser, I'll make a new folder called Materials by right-clicking and choosing New Folder. Then right-click in here and choose Material. I'll call this M_wood. Double-click the material to open it. This is the material editor. On the left, we can see a preview of this material as it would look assigned to various 3D models. We have a details panel, currently set with the default settings for an opaque object, and we have the material graph in the center. When we modify these outputs for base color, metallic, and so on, we will see an updated preview here on the left. We can create nodes in the material graph by right-clicking and typing or just finding the selection that we want. Alternatively, we could add textures to our material by simply dragging them into the material graph. So in the content browser, I'll navigate to those wood textures that I previously imported. By dragging them into my material graph, I can use these as nodes for the material. When we don't provide any connected nodes to these outputs, they'll remain at their default settings, like you currently see here in the preview window. You can connect the nodes to their respective outputs by clicking and dragging on one pin and letting go on the destination. If you make a mistake, hold Alt and left-click to break a connection. This roughness parameter is only looking for a single 0 to 1 value, so I'll only provide a single color channel for the roughness texture instead of RGB. By default, specular is set to 0.5. If we wanted to increase this to 1, we could create a constant value for that output. Right-click and create a single constant node. Constant would give us a single numerical value. Constant 2 would give us 2 values that we could use for, say, x and y. Constant 3 vector would give us 3 values we could use for RGB. And constant 4 would give us RGB and alpha. For this, we only want a single numerical value. Set the value to 1 and plug it into the specular channel. So what if you wanted to use a solid color instead of this wood texture? You could right-click and this time create a constant 3 vector node. Plug that into base color and change the RGB values as you see fit. For now though, I'll just use the textures for this material, so I'll delete those other nodes and make sure the textures are connected. When you're done, hit Save and close the window. Now, if we apply this material to an object, we'll see our wood textures correctly emulating how light would react to the roughness, color, and directionality of an actual wood surface. This looks great, but you might need to create a lot of materials for your project. We can do this quickly and easily by creating a master material and material instances. Let's open the material again and make it a simple master material. Right-click each texture and convert them to parameters. Be sure to give them a unique name to indicate what each parameter is used for. Next, in the content browser, rename this material to mm_wood for master material. Right-click our material and choose Create Material Instance. I'll name this mi_wood1. If we apply that to an object and open the material, we now see that we have the option to quickly swap out the textures used for this specific material. If we were to then add additional details to our master material, we would see those changes applied to any instances of that master. I've added a few additional textures to the project, so I'll make an additional material instance. Same as before, right-click the master material and create another material instance. This time, I'll call it mi_concrete_1. Open that instance and add the new textures. Now I'll add it to a few objects in the scene. It's worth noting that our Datasmith import automatically created a versatile master material with material instances that closely emulate the materials that were set up in 3ds Max. This gives us the option to quickly make tweaks without having to go through too much work creating our own materials. Next, we'll conclude this course by summarizing the various topics that we've covered in this project.